Welcome to Permission Granted, a Wilder Intimacy podcast. This is a space for people who have outgrown the boxes they were handed and are brave enough to ask what lives beyond them. Here, we speak about eros and prayer, power and tenderness, devotion and defiance, the sacred and the profane, without asking them to compete. You may not agree with everything shared here, but you may find something rising in your body, heat or grief, resistance or longing. This podcast is not here to keep you comfortable, and it's not here to protect old identities or create polite consensus. It's here for permission. Permission to question what you were taught, to outgrow what you thought once saved you, and to pause if something feels charged. You have permission to turn this off, take a break, and come back when your body says yes. This show is for the courageous. It's for the questioners, the ones who suspect that holiness might be bigger than obedience. This is not about self-improvement or hustle culture or spiritual bypassing. It's reclamation. And today's conversation and my beloved guest lives right on that edge. So welcome to Permission Granted, conversations that set you free. Well, today I'm speaking with Stephanie Traver, a women's health nurse practitioner. She's a Menopause Society certified practitioner and the founder of Vital Menopause in Colorado. She's also the creator of Thrive Summit and one of my very, very dear friends. Stephanie has spent more than 20 years working in women's health and created Vital because she was seeing far too many people arrive in midlife, feeling exhausted, confused, or disconnected from their bodies, or wondering if they were somehow losing their minds without getting meaningful answers from traditional healthcare. Her work brings together evidence-based hormone care with nutrition, metabolism, sleep, movement, stress, and the bigger picture of what it actually means to feel well and fully yourself in this season of life, which makes her exactly the perfect person to talk about what's really happening to us in perimenopause and beyond, and what becomes possible when we understand it instead of simply enduring it. So, Stephanie, my friend, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm so happy that we made this happen. It's been kind of something that we've been talking about, and to see it all come together, it's a beautiful day.
It really is a beautiful day. We were talking 2 or 3 days ago about life and catching up because we've known each other for several years. And because of what we both do, this is a natural part of the things we talk about also because we're in this stage. So why don't you start us out with when people show up in your office, when women walk in and they sit down with you and they say, I don't feel like myself anymore. I don't recognize myself. Please help. How do you explain what's happening?
Yeah. So first I, say, yes, what you're experiencing is real. And I see this a lot. So you're not alone and what you're experiencing is real. I think that's really important to hear because there's a lot of I should be able to push through this, or maybe it's just I'm busy and I have too many things. And that's why I don't quite feel like myself. We tend to kind of overwrite our own instincts a lot and not take ourselves seriously or trust ourselves sometimes. So I do that. And then what I do is I kind of paint the picture of, so if you're coming to me in perimenopause, your body is trying to help you by keeping things regular, predictable, helping you ovulate and have an egg available so that you can reproduce, because that's one of our kind of primal reasons for being here, right? To make more of us and keep going so the world stays alive. But when that ovarian reserve starts to decrease and the body is starting to get different signals that maybe that ovulation is not occurring as predictably or those eggs are not as viable as they were before, then your body keeps changing up the recipe to say, well, maybe we should try maybe more estrogen here, or maybe we should just do that a couple of times in a row and just see what happens. And so when you start to feel whoa, I don't feel like I'm the one in the driver's seat anymore, it's because you aren't. Your adrenal glands and your ovaries and your pituitary gland, they're all having little conversations with each other and they're saying we want to make this work. We're just going to try a bunch of things and see what happens. And so you get this really volatile, unpredictable state where, you go from having this gentle wave that happens on repeat in a really predictable fashion over and over again to you're just crashing in these giant waves that you've never really had to experience before. And you don't get warning signals. You don't get a playbook that says this is what's happening and when and how.
It does feel like absolutely being hijacked in the middle of a giant storm. For sure.
Yeah.
Because I have been in it. A lot of my clients are in it. all of our friends are in it. This is an
Yes.
unavoidable phase, a
Yes.
season of life that we cannot escape, but we can make it easier. So
Absolutely.
we actually did a talk in Colorado last winter. And this is just popping into my head right now. We had a small group of people together, and you talked about the estrogen veil dropping. It was the first time I'd ever
Mhm.
heard that term or that concept. And I was like, ding, ding,
Mhm.
ding, this is what's happening to me. Would you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, one of the roles of estrogen is to allow us to have space and care and prioritize people that aren't ourselves because, just our like caveman, cavewoman instincts are, make sure that you get everything you need above everything else. You have to survive, So, one of the things that happens is when we have this rise in estrogen, particularly during pregnancy, you get this really big rise in estrogen that says, even though this other person is making me really uncomfortable, they're taking my resources, they're kicking me in the bladder, they're doing all these things. They are important and even more important than what my needs are right now. And so that's a necessary thing for us to be able to become mothers, but it also kind of blurs our boundaries a little bit. And so when that estrogen starts dropping and it's kind of coming out and we've got, maybe more testosterone in that time and less estrogen, then what happens is we think slightly more like a man for a moment. And it's, just biologically, it's kind of like, well, wait, my needs are these, and this is coming up against my needs. Does that actually work for me? Does that actually feel good? And sometimes it may come out as the perimenopausal rage because you're feeling this feeling, you're having this aha moment, and you don't know what to do with that. And it can often come into your lizard brain, part of your brain that says like, this is actually dangerous. Not only do I not like it, it's annoying, it's uncomfortable, but this feels like danger to your nervous system. So you lash out to get that danger away from you. You fight or flight, and that can be not so great for relationships. But there's a tool to like, as you're noticing that veil kind of rising and falling, because it does, you could say like, okay, I know what it feels like now when my boundaries are being crossed and that's really clear. Now, how do I hear that? Sort of put it through a filter of this is a boundary being crossed. I don't really like that. And then communicate it in a way that maintains the relationship for relationships that should be maintained. The way that you're breathing is annoying me. Please stop breathing is not going to work well in a relationship. But hey, actually the way that you're communicating with me, it doesn't work for me. I would love to communicate differently. This is what would work for me. Can we work towards that? That can be really like relationship changing, life changing stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So many important things in there. I want to just highlight the rage that
Yeah.
comes out of nowhere. I've had this happen, I think, 2 times. And I was like, what is going on? Because I don't actually never experienced it before. It really was like a storm in our home. And later I was like, I don't know where that came from. But like broke down in tears because it's like that. I'm not used to feeling that much volatility. I'm used to being like pretty steady unless something's really big off. But
Mhm.
the way you explained that as it feels like an emergency inside, it actually feels dangerous. It's a self-protective mechanism. It's really a lovely and graceful lens to look at it and then to like tune into what that can be going forward. There's something else in there, boundaries. So I run into this too with my clients because they come in and all of a sudden they're saying no's that they've never said before. Like
Yes.
maybe they used to be able to tolerate things or they had the buffer that estrogen provided to have more bandwidth or something like that. Is that about right? Because I'm thinking like sometimes people aren't overwhelming a boundary. It's just the boundary has not been set in the past. So it can feel really baffling.
Yeah. And maybe that person is kind of like, well, I can deal with this. I don't love it, but it's fine. It's never risen up to the surface where they're willing to say, like, actually, I don't love this, or actually, this would work better for me, or maybe it's just like something that they've kind of noticed in the background as like this little irritation, like a rock in your shoe, but they don't have clarity on like, that's what that's what the irritation is. So it's neither person's fault really, but it can just bring some clarity that's never been there before.
Yeah. I have a lot of clients who come in either with total disgust with their partners, like they just don't want to be having the sex they've been having. So they've like exceeded that I'm willing to put up with this thing and they want things to change. Or they've like encountered their deep no for the first time, like the limit that they will not cross anymore. And then sometimes it's the awakening of the aliveness that comes on board too. So like, I want to be alive. So let's talk about the fight or flight and the feed and breed that we were talking about on the phone. That's what made us go, oh, we need to talk about this.
We need to
Let's talk about libido and nervous systems.
Yeah. So you have these two ways in which your nervous system can be. And the most common thing is you go into fight or flight. You can also go into freeze or fawn, but it feels like you're having an emergency in your body. So you feel more like closed off, you feel more contracted, you feel more your heart rate is racing and things like that. And it can be from, it's made for running from a bear. It's made for like life preservation kinds of things, but it can be activated by, you're doing your 5 a.m. HIIT workout every single day because you have to stay fit. And then you're going on your back-to-back Zoom calls, and then you're running to get the kids from school, and then you're taking them to soccer practice, and then you're getting dinner on the table. And then, that is telling your nervous system, we're running from a bear. There's no bear, but your nervous system is getting the same thing. So you can't live in that space where your nervous system is, okay, survive, don't die. You have adrenaline, you have cortisol, and be in the parasympathetic nervous system, the feed and breed or rest and digest at the same time. One takes over all the resources that the other one needs. And so you can't just like, okay, the next thing on the schedule is sex. Let's go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. I tell people this all the time. I'm like, your libido actually isn't gone.
Yeah. So you take a few deep breaths. You do a silly dance in the kitchen while you're making dinner with your partner. You send your nervous system those signals that like, I'm safe. There is no bear. We're good. Everything's okay. This is an available space to be intimate, to connect with someone because there's no emergency. Then the oxytocin can flow. Then, endorphins are available, and the serotonin and the dopamine, like those are different neurotransmitters that can switch on and upregulate when the stress hormones aren't just surging and taking up all the space.
Yeah. I often encourage people, like literally the HIIT workout just had me laughing because I definitely have people who start out their day with that at like 4:35 a.m. and then they're all the way through. And then they wonder, like, why am I so crabby and exhausted? It's because they didn't actually inhabit their body all day long. It was the mind running the tasks on efficiency and productivity, not connection or embodiment or presence. No wonder they're so exhausted.
Yeah, it's hard because, women are doing these things as a response to, you are supposed to do this impossible list of things, take care of children, take care of your parents, take care of yourself, make sure you stay looking and feeling this way. If you have a career, make sure you're going up in your career, make sure you save for retirement, make sure you also have amazing vacations. It's just like the list goes on and on and on. The expectations are just piled and piled and piled. And so it's not like, well, what's wrong with these women? They just need to relax, It's just like, no, it's real. This is us. This is all of us. This is the reality we live with, the societal pressures and the pressures we put on ourselves. And it takes intention to say like, whoa, I'm actually a human. I'm a human being, and human beings can't be at 100% all the time. We have to slow down.
Yeah. That's one of the things I try to model is like, it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to decommit from something that actually wasn't a full yes in the beginning. And it's okay to start your day with a walk instead of high intensity, or maybe take a shower after work to just like wash away the day before you step into dinner. It doesn't mean we can't do life, but putting in those moments of grace and rest. So important.
Yeah, that's really beautiful, important reminders.
Yeah. So, of course, people see me and you for libido and not just hormone balancing and feeling good, but also like specifically around libido. One of the things I see a lot of male partners asking in a heterosexual partnership is like, what about this spontaneous desire? I want us to just like want each other like we used to all the time. And like, I don't want to actually, I want it to just happen spontaneously. So let's talk about spontaneous versus responsive desire and what women in this season might need. I know
Yeah.
I have my
Yeah.
opinions. I want to hear yours.
Right. Right. So my take on it is that for people who don't know, spontaneous desire is you are not currently doing anything that is sexual in nature. You're, doing something else. And the idea occurs to you that, oh, what would sound really great right now is something that is sexual in nature. And you kind of move into that space and you pursue and you kind of get the juices going. And responsive is there's somebody else comes in, or an audio comes on, or a video comes on, or a photo is sent, or something that kind of invites the idea in. Then you're like, now that you mention it, now that the scene is set, I too want that. That does sound nice. And we kind of have like the perfect setup for responsive desire in our dating model. When we're dating, you make yourself look and smell nice, and you go and you have a conversation and dinner and drinks, and you spend time together connecting. And there's anticipation building over that entire time that like at the end of this, there's going to be sex, and it's special and it's set aside. So that is it wasn't spontaneous then. It was actually responsive. And I think we tend to label that as spontaneous. I wanted to go back to when it was spontaneous like that, but it wasn't. We were just going on dates, and then you are in a long-term relationship, and sometimes you have fewer dates or you stop dating altogether. And then you don't have those little reminders. And then, maybe in this phase of life where there's all these things on the plate, what may open up that channel for intimacy and connection isn't, look, I bought a new sexy thong or whatever. It's I folded the laundry and I put it away. And not because I wanted a pat on the back or I wanted anything in return, just because I'm your partner and we do this and we're in a partnership. And I know that you love sushi. And so I got some sushi and, everything's ready to go for dinner. So you don't have to make a decision about what to eat. You don't have to buy groceries. Like, I took some of the mental load away. Those are the things that make you say like, oh, that's really sexy. I'm really loving that right now at this phase for me anyway. That's been my experience. Yeah. I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Well, I'm thinking about multiple circles here, not just my own lived experience, but like what I hear day in and day out and what I observe and witness in my clients and my friends. I've seen both extremes. One is like I've dried up, like I would rather sleep than anything else. If I could have the ideal weekend of my dreams, it would be a hotel room by myself with no interruptions. They've been in that like fight, flight, do, be so much that actually just the connection and presence of like, I actually don't need or want anything from you. I'm not even, there's no ask at the end of this. I just see that you are working so hard and I brought sushi. Like I'll wake up in the morning sometimes and my husband will be upstairs doing dishes because he knows like I love to wake up to a clean kitchen. And probably there were teenagers making a big mess late in the night. And like I wake up sometimes I hear like he loves me so much. And it's just this exhale. Like, there's no ask and there's no agenda, but there's a partnership there that is so profoundly helpful in this stage, more than any I've experienced before. And then I see other women who are like firing up on the other side. Like they're coming awake. They're feeling this, like, I want more. And almost with this sense of like panic of I want to burn down the life I have because I feel so trapped. It's like the wings that just want to break free. I don't think there's any one prescription or one way that this happens. So for me, I'm like, let's talk about it and explain to your partner what's going on for you, what's changing in this season of life. Like for me, I want now a lot more anticipation and connection and spaciousness. I'm not immediately online the way I used to be with just a slap on the ass or a quick kiss on the neck or something like that. Like I need more time because my mind is so full right now. feel like I need a little bit more time to switch gears into that, where that used to be fast and accessible to me. And right now, currently, I need more of like an on-ramp bridge. I'm thinking through all of the different ways and phases, and it's so complicated. But
Yeah.
being able to say, this is what I wish you could understand about me.
Yeah.
This is what's different about me now. Not how do I become the person I used to be, because we're not going back. But this is who I am now. This is what helps me now. And I don't know who I'll be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's this,
Yeah.
I call it the liminal woman stage of like everything is changing and we're not through the portal. And so it's like there is no who I am now, it's who I'm becoming, and every day is different. So like that continual check-in is so important.
Yeah, I think that every day is different part can feel really scary, but it can also feel really empowering and freeing. And, when I first started dating again after my divorce, I said, I want to continually have this curiosity about each other in, these relationships that I was starting, which is like, I'm a different person each day that I wake up. I'm a little bit different of a person than I was the previous day. Like, not in a who are you or you're bipolar or something, but just like I'm evolving, I'm changing, I'm growing, I've learned new things, I picked new things up. So I'm going to be always just a little bit different than I was yesterday. And so are you. And that's what keeps this interesting. Like, we have to keep being curious about each other, sharing what we've learned about ourselves and asking, what's making you tick? What's going on in there? And that also keeps that little bit of like, it's interesting and it's fresh, and it's not like, oh, I've known you for this X amount of years. You're predictable, you're boring, You can have safety and like, I understand, like, here's kind of the edges of like how you're going to act or who you're going to be, but there's also this evolution happening inside of that that's really like fun and helpful for me anyway. I also wanted to point out when you were saying like how everyone's, I just want to sleep. There's this thing we learn about in the medical world, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They talk about that a lot. And it says that, we have this foundation of needs, or like if your body is deprived of sleep, water, food, you can't think about the next thing up. You can't think about like, well, how am I going to, spiritually and emotionally grow? You can't think about, and, sex kind of is one of those higher levels. It's not in that foundational, very bottom level. So if you're not sleeping night after night after night, you need that first. That has to happen first before anything else. You need that for basic survival. So like address those things first so that then you can move into that next level of whatever you want to do next. And even the fitness influencers that really say, well, like in order to feel your best at this time, you have to be eating this many grams of protein and lifting this much weight and knowing that, like, yes, but you can't do that if you're exhausted and starving and having panic attacks.
Right. Yeah. I've given
So
myself permission to do 30 grams of protein, however I can get it in the morning. Right. Like, I don't care what it is. Like, literally, this is here from this morning. My Costco protein shake. It's not like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
yes.
I just need to feed myself. Right? I went and got like the little hard-boiled eggs that are pre-peeled from Costco, right? Like, how can I make it so easy to eat in the morning? Because that's the part that I find easy to skip because I'm like into my day. But I could tell such a difference when I do. So I'm like, let go of perfection, get it in.
Yeah,
However you
exactly.
can. And you're so right on the hungry and the tired and the dehydrated. All of these things are so big. So I think it's really important that we do whatever it is that we can sleep hack, whatever we can do. Like, I just got mouth tape.
Yeah.
Surprisingly relaxing and amazing for me. What are some of your other sleep tips? I mean, I know there's lots with hormones, but what are a couple of things to help people who are saying, I would rather sleep than have sex?
Yeah, I would rather sleep. I mean, number one thing is like the first hormone to leave the party is progesterone, and progesterone has a huge role in stimulating the GABA receptors that helps us fall asleep and downregulates our nervous system to keep anxiety at bay. So progesterone can really be a powerful tool for the people that, it's the right thing for them, and that is a lot of people. If you're having hot flashes, night sweats, joint pain, any of those kinds of things, Estrogen will also be very supportive of your sleep. Again, for the people that have talked to their provider and it's the right thing for them. I love magnesium for sleep. It helps with a lot of things, but sleep is one of them. And I like a blend that has at least either magnesium glycinate or magnesium malate in it. That's going to help with muscle soreness, preventing headaches, with mental clarity. It's going to support good sleep. It's also going to help with GI motility. That can be kind of sluggish during this time. So that's one of my favorite things. Having some nervous system down regulation in the evening. So, turning off your blue light, your screens and all of that, taking a couple of deep breaths or a warm shower or something to kind of tell your nervous system like it's bedtime. We're going into a new phase now. We're going to rest. And then another trick I have is a lot of people will get woken up by their blood sugar crash that happens around 3 a.m. So a little fat snack can be really helpful for some people. And that looks like a little teaspoon of nut butter or a couple tablespoons of whole fat yogurt, something that has some protein and some fat in it. So it will kind of sustain blood sugar throughout the night, because that drop in blood sugar that happens, your liver will respond to it by dumping some sugar into your system. But along with that comes adrenaline and cortisol. And both of those things will wake you up, which is not great at 3 a.m.
Those are huge. I have been through 3 big adrenal crashes in my life, and learning that complex carb fat before bed to keep stable blood sugar all night is a game changer. It's like, oh, wow, that's one of the first things I do if I'm starting to go into that cycle. It's like, yes, boost that up for something sustainable all night long. And I just learned this because I'm brand new to all of this. I'm doing myofunctional release work on my jaw and my tongue, and learning that the mouth tape, like keeping the mouth closed, actually helps your body know you're asleep. So you actually wake up less to pee. Your kidneys aren't working so hard. You're not peeing as much. And since using it, I'm like, it's changed a lot. Instead of getting up 3 times a night, it's like barely at all. Most times not. These are the tips we need to share with each other, because we can't all figure this out ourselves.
Yes. Not having caffeine after like noon, even just for the diuretic effect of it. If you're getting up to pee all through the night because you drank a diuretic all afternoon, that's not going to be super helpful. And a lot of times even vaginal hormones, vaginal estrogen, to support the pelvic floor muscles and the urethra kind of sealing off so that you can hold your bladder more fully and empty it at a regular cadence and not too frequently. It's really helpful. It also helps have comfortable, pain-free sex and achieve orgasms more normally. So that's going to help your libido too.
All of the above. Yeah. Pelvic floor, PT, and vaginal estrogen. Game changers also. What do you tell your folks now that we've got all these estrogen patches that are out of stock all over the world right now? How are you supporting people?
So in my clinic, we still have estrogen patches, but I talked to a lot of people who are not in our situation. And so, I was suggesting that a lot of people switch, talk to their provider about switching to a different form. Oral estrogen is safe for a lot of people. So if you don't have a contraindication to oral estrogen, talk through what that might look like, because that is highly available. It's inexpensive, gives you a lot of options. You can take it once a day or twice a day, depending on your needs. So that is an option. If you need to stay with transdermal and you can't find the gel or the patch because the gel is also running out, you can use something called the Evamist. It's a mist that goes on your arm, and you can titrate it up and down just like the patches. You use 1, 2, 3 sprays depending on how much you need. That can be a great option. You can get a cream compounded. So even if all the normal pharmaceutical options go away, you can get plain estradiol cream compounded into a cream or a gel, and then apply that. And another option a lot of people don't know about is called the FemRing. It's a systemic and local estrogen vaginal ring that you put in for 3 months. There's 2 different doses. And so it takes care of your systemic estrogen just like a patch would. And it also supplies you with local vaginal estrogen just like the cream does, all in one little ring. So
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
It's so good to know there are options. Like, people need more options.
Yes.
And I didn't respond well to the patch. It was not a good fit for me, and the cream made all the difference.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
there
it's
are
important.
sometimes you'll get creams compounded that have multiple forms of estrogen in them. And you just need to pay attention to what your body's telling you on that. Sometimes the other forms of estrogen will make it feel like a little bit of a softer onset and a softer kind of reception of that hormone. And for other people, they have more side effects because of the additional forms of estrogen. So just need to have clarity on what is it that's in the cream that you're getting.
Uh-huh. Yes. Okay, and now let's talk about this as we move from like practicals of sleep and hormones. I want to really give you the soapbox to really talk about what you're so passionate about when it comes to like this right way to say it, like developmental thresholds, initiation. I like to say we're not fading, we're ripening, and
Mm-hmm.
also it's like a wrecking ball at the same
Yeah.
time. What
Yeah.
do you really wish that women could hear or know that can give them, yeah, just please.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, one of the things that feels really important for me is that this is an opportunity for you to evolve, to level up, to, come into yourself and to say like, I've learned things about myself. I've learned things about what works for me and what doesn't work for me that I'm going to implement now in this new space. And it requires a bit of learning to trust yourself in a way that maybe you never have. It requires a bit of trial and error. So, I talk about like there's this magical tool we have for diagnosing perimenopause, and it's really cool. It's really amazing. It's first we have to listen. We have to listen to women. And second, we have to believe them. And the same thing is true for yourself when you're trying to figure out like what's happening here during this shift, during this transformation, during this time. First, I have to turn down the external noise enough to hear myself and listen. If she's screaming inside there saying like, "Hey, hey, 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 I need your attention." Listen. Like it can be scary because what she might be saying is, something you've been doing for a long time is not serving you, or something that, you're really connected to, you're going to let go of. That can be terrifying. When she's saying those things, if you choose to believe her, your inner self, your bigger self, that can be incredibly powerful. It's not even becoming someone else, it's just becoming more you. You're becoming more and more and more aligned with who you are and less trying to chameleon yourself into all the versions of what you thought you should be or how other people needed you to be or what the expectations, that have been placed on you, and more truth. This is who you are.
Yeah. I love that, becoming more ourselves.
Yeah. I also don't want to discount how challenging all of this is. It can be very scary. You can feel like you are losing your mind. You can feel very out of control. There's real health things that come along with it, pain and suffering that
Yeah.
that
I am 3 years into the ugly menopause.
yeah, yeah.
I felt it so deeply and intimately. I went from being I would say a very extroverted social person to being so much more introverted. I spent 3 summers hermiting in my backyard and took up gardening. Like my garden is my happy place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it did feel like the woman that I was dying. And it was
Mhm.
genuinely more than scary. It was the sense of I don't even know what's happening. And I think that's one of the things I'm wanting to do and hoping to do with this podcast and with the events we're doing together and what I know you're doing
Mhm.
is bring together women and practitioners and providers so that it's not just one of us trying to figure out because I literally didn't know. Yes, I'm a certified and licensed sex coach and I work in this beautiful conscious sexuality space and I got zero education on hormones and perimenopause. So
Mhm.
it hit me like a tsunami. And I
Mhm.
remember my beloved husband sitting on the stairs one day as I was weeping and looking at me and saying, I will be the man with you on the other side of this. But the woman that I was when we met, is not the woman that I have been in the last 3 years or that I am now. And so it's incredibly challenging for partnerships, but it's also incredibly scary, isolating, and there's a lot of shame that can come along with it. So building the team of practitioners is really important, and then building the community of women,
Yes.
because
Yes.
instead of it being all these different pieces and nobody knows the big picture, like bringing in a sort of holistic sense of everybody communicating together is really big. So I know that you're doing that with your clinic. So talk a little bit more about Vital in terms of like the other practitioners you have and what you're creating.
Yeah. So we have a wellness coach. Her name is Elizabeth, and she brings the kind of frequent touch points in where, it's like I'm trying to eat in a way that supports my longevity. I'm trying to build muscle, but I don't know how. I'm trying to decrease my joint pain and, maybe navigate an injury. We have some people who are on significant weight loss journeys, but a lot of people who aren't. She really helps with like, let's see where you're at now, talk about goals together, and then, step by step kind of going through that, but also just a little like, hey, I'm here. I'm in your corner. I'm checking in with you, just that sort of regular touch point. So, when they haven't seen me in a few weeks, they've got somebody else kind of touching in and remembering that they're not alone in this. That's really helpful. Nancy does our beautification. She helps with the skin rejuvenation, skin health kind of piece. So we do a lot of things to kind of rebuild collagen and protect the skin barrier and that kind of thing, because hair and skin, it's our most visible shift where all of a sudden people are like, I looked in the mirror and I don't recognize myself. I like aged overnight. Like what the heck? And, there's some of looking in the mirror and seeing something that's different and deciding like, she's still valuable and worthy of love. And there's something about saying like, yeah, and I'm going to nourish her and give her everything she needs to, look and feel her best so that we can really stand tall during this time, because, you want to look good and you want to feel good and you want to just have this sense that like, this is not the end of anything. This is, the beginning of this next amazing piece of my life. So that's what my team does. And we have regular community events here called Vital After Dark. And they are just about like sitting down, having these little chats, these little conversations, just so we can, crowdsource things that work and don't work. And also just to feel heard and not alone and feel supported. I think that's the medicine that's really missing in a lot of places. And it's always in person. All of my events are always in person. And it's because like there's something valuable about just having easy access to a big community, in an online chat group or whatever. But it's different than sharing energy. You get in the room with someone and you can share energy. Yeah.
Amazing. Love Baden. So we have a retreat coming up. Elizabeth will be there cooking.
Yes.
So let's talk about Midlife Elevated. It's coming.
Yes. So it's 4 days in Keystone, Colorado. It's September 13th through 16th, Sunday through Wednesday. And it is all about living the experience of that nervous system regulation. So it's one thing to talk about it or know about it like on a textbook, but it's about the lived experience of what does it look like to allow yourself to pause, to slow down, to be cared for, to be, metaphysically held. You don't have to come up with a schedule. You don't have to come up with a menu. You don't have to know what's coming next. You get to just arrive and exist. And that's enough. And then during that time, we'll also be doing some restorative movement with yoga and some massages and some facials. We'll be eating really nourishing food. And then we've got some really powerful workshops, one that you're doing, and a human design workshop, and some around food, just making food easier to nourish our bodies in ways that feel really good and can kind of just fit into life. All of those available kind of offerings so that you can leave with tools and also that feeling of like, that's what it feels like when I pause, tune into my body, listen to her, and give her a little bit of what she needs. And it doesn't have to always take 4 days, but 4 days is enough to kind of receive something really special.
I love that it's 4 days.
Yeah.
There's actually a landing that happens over an extended period of time that we don't get from a really quick thing. And what I feel like in both retreats I've done at Hot Springs, like Brighton Bush, and other trips that I've done and events I've held, is Like it takes people a while to land and to really receive and soak in. It's like giving ourselves a deep watering, right? Like instead of just a little bit of water every day, and it doesn't like get down to the roots. This event feels like that, like deep bone level nourishment on all different aspects and facets, because it's not like come in, come out, go right back to work. Like I even love that it ends on a Wednesday, right? Instead of a Friday through Sunday. It's like, oh no, we're gonna give you 2 days on the other side and then another weekend. Like it was such beautiful intention to allow a full reset and to make room for really luxurious, fun, playful workshops. I'm going to be talking about the liminal woman and the 4 phases that I've walked through over and over. Like now that I'm in this so deeply, I realize I'm shedding certain roles, and relationships, and identities over and over, and then resting in the middle of not knowing what's next, and then like recalibrating. So it feels like this, it's going to be really juicy, really fun.
Yeah.
I'm calling it like provocative and playful and sweet.
Yeah.
Really yummy. And Elizabeth's doing all the food.
Yes. Elizabeth is a retreat chef. Like she has done this over decades and she's really good at it. Not only how to make nutrition like taste delicious and really nourishing, but she's also putting a lot of intention in like when you eat, taste it. Let yourself receive that food and take your time with it. And it's not just another thing to get through or to have this purpose. You get to have the pleasure of enjoying this and feeling it nourish you and energize you and connecting with the people you're eating it with. And that's all part of it. And I think, that's been one of the biggest sort of like challenges and invitations with this is that like, permission granted, if I may, to tell yourself like you deserve to have some space and some resources that are for you, even though you're really all the other things that you're setting aside for a moment, you're putting on the shelf while you go and do this are so important. Your family and your kids and all of the things that you do every day, like you're so needed and you are allowed to then be set for a minute and you go fill your cup. Yeah.
And also being able to be in spaces with other women. It's so normalizing to really say, I'm not alone. We're all in this. What are you doing that works? What are you trying? Right? What's working for you? And I love that this is like in this retreat and this time is like medical because you're doing all of that piece. You're providing that. The nervous system piece.
Yeah.
The yoga and the breathing and the embodiment and all of that sexuality and meaning making and even like deep spiritual understanding of ourselves. All of it gets to be in there in this really juicy way. So it's like the whole woman, not just one piece of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, we are humans. We don't get to, slice ourselves up and say like, we're just going to think about this.
Yeah. What do you wish that women knew before the threshold? If you could go back, you actually knew it. I think about all the things I knew. What if you had somebody, let's say, who's 34, 35? What would you want her to know if she were listening today?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ignoring and pushing it off because of, it's uncomfortable or there's fear or like, oh, that doesn't, something I don't want to think about because I'm not there yet. But I think if I was talking to that woman that's like, you're not there yet, but as you feel yourself shifting and changing, you are in the driver's seat. You actually have the key, you have the power in that moment to be proactive and to continue adding the layers of support and resources and things to just keep leveling up as you notice those things instead of this is something that's going to hit you out of nowhere and you're going to feel terrible and you're going to suffer a lot. And once you suffer enough, then you'll go get help. Maybe, I help women who come in on that early side and they're like, I'm not noticing a lot, but I'm seeing these little things shift and I want to be proactive. And those women absolutely just are, killing it. because they made that decision. Like, I don't have to wait until I've suffered enough. I can just say, I know that this is something that happens in life. This is part of life. And I get to have these resources and I get to, connect into this amazing community and I get to know what it feels like to, have all the support and have all these resources. And man, they're just like totally feeling amazing. Yeah.
One thing I feel really lucky about is I had a full hormone panel in my mid-30s. And so I can look back and be like, oh, this is where I was when I was regularly cycling. And this was when I felt really good. And so what was that? Because I'd always been really estrogen dominant. And so for me to be in the toilet with estrogen, it's tanked completely, it was really rough for me. My body had never been in that state before. And I wish that I had probably 5 or 6 years ago had that heads up. And for people who don't actually bleed regularly, like if you've had a uterine ablation or something like that, it makes it even harder to track. So it makes it really, really hard with inconsistent cycles to actually even find the window to actually test in your mid to late 40s. I bought ovulation strips recently just to be like, I don't know because I don't bleed anymore, but I am still cycling, but I have no idea what's going on. So yeah, get somebody who knows their stuff on your team.
Yes, that's really important. And yeah, if you can get baseline data like that, as much baseline data as you can get your full testosterone panel. That varies so much from person to person on where their ideal is. So if you can get that information while you are feeling good, what does that look like? How much total testosterone do you have? How much free testosterone do you have? What does your estradiol look like on the week of your period? If you have a period, for a baseline, just to know.
Because then you're not shooting in the dark. It's okay, we know these were optimal levels. So
yes,
for you as an individual, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I always look at thyroid. I always look at vitamin D. I always look at ferritin and cardiovascular risk too. You should for sure have a fasted lipid panel at the very least in your 30s. So if you wait until you're in your 40s and you're in perimenopause, you won't know if that's just been there or if it's new and what to do about it.
Okay. Well, what else? If we could, you said there were a couple permissions that you said. If you could talk about a permission slip you've given yourself, something that in this season of life you're like, I'm gonna do this differently. I'm giving myself this permission slip.
One of the things that I have given myself a permission slip for that has been the most challenging thing for me is permission to disappoint others, because that felt like an absolute catastrophe to me before. If someone else was upset with me, if I didn't meet their expectations, if I did something that kind of rubbed up against what they needed or wanted from me, that was the worst thing that could happen. And I think, my goal is for the people in my orbit to be happy and supported and feel like I am a source of good things for them. However, there are times where not abandoning myself and being true to what held the highest value for me included disappointing other people, and just giving myself permission to let them own their feelings was really important for me.
That's so good. That's huge. Congratulations.
Thank you.
As a friend to a friend, that's such a big thing. Yeah. I want to share a quote that inspires me. It reminds me of Glennon Doyle says in her book Untamed, her daughter's asking her about something to do with school and joining the club, and she doesn't want other people to be disappointed. And the mother says, when it comes to disappointing yourself or someone else, I hope you let the other person down every time. And then the little girl said, is it even if it's you, mommy? And she said, especially if it's me. And so that's something I've even given my children, lived experience and permission with, is can we give that to ourselves? It's okay to disappoint people, and also model that. Look at what your children are learning. Look at what my children are learning. My boundaries matter. My true desires matter. I approve of myself first and always. That's pretty damn delicious. I love that one. That's a good mic drop ending. Thank you. We will put your link to your retreat, to your beautiful team. Also, you do great educational videos. So Instagram for Vital Menopause we'll put in the show notes as well.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to see you next month.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, yay. Well, so you and I are really dear heart friends. We've walked through so many seasons together, but we met as total strangers. I remember when you texted me and said, I want to know you. So would you tell a little bit about that story? And then I'll join in.
Yes. So I was dating someone who had previously dated Kristen. And he's like, I don't know, but I think the reason why we met may have been so that I could introduce you to this person. You guys just seem like you would get along so well. You seem like you need to know each other. So he like set up a little text introduction for us. And it was just like instant, like, yes, I want to know you. And the more I know about you, the more I feel like I've always known you. And the first time we met in person, it was like seeing an old friend. It was just like, yes, of course, you're my very best friend. And I am so happy that you're here. Shanxi said it was like, oh, actually, it's like, nice to meet you. I don't know. It's weird. Yeah.
I remember getting the text, which was like, I'm in Colorado now. I just met someone. You have to meet her. Right. So it was like we were actually connected through this former partner that adored us both. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like you have a lot in common. And I remember the very first time we were on the phone thinking, this is like my sister, like the sister I've never had. Like, yeah, he's totally right. We're so aligned and connected. Yeah, we kept in touch for, I think, a year or two and then finally met in person.
Yes.
And now, of course, we've seen each other lots of times and our families are intertwined and good friends and all of that. But it's a fun, cute story, I think, of a friend connection that has endured and continues to grow.
And when you and I met for the first time in person, you introduced me to my now life partner.
This is true.
Yeah.
I love introducing the people I love to the people I love. That one was not a setup, though. That one happened naturally and spontaneously. Yeah. I just got to watch it happen. I just brought you into the same room. The three of us met for dinner beforehand. And I remember he said as we were walking, he's like, I really like her. I'm like, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Watching it over the weekend as you like, the first spark in that draw and that magnet, and then watching you fall in love and now building a family together. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I just had some other friends that I introduced that are like deep in love, and I'm like, I love it.
Good stuff. Yeah.
When you know good people and they meet, it's just like, delicious.
Yes.
I'm so happy to see your happiness.
Thank you. I feel very grateful for that very brief relationship we both had.
Me too. What a gift. Right? I mean, and that's actually really important to say. Like, I talk to people about that when I do dating coaching, and it's like, you don't actually know who this person might be. They might become like, I got a new mechanic out of a dating situation once. I met you through someone. I have a best friend in Seattle, and I'm going to another friend's wedding this weekend, all because of dating and moving through that midlife dating process. And those are all successful relationships. It doesn't mean they lasted permanently, but they were all successful.
Yeah. There's so many ways that they can be successes. And when you open yourself up to allow yourself to be connected to another human, like who knows what will come of that, but like that scary process can create really beautiful, amazing, life-changing things. So
that's one of my favorite things to do. Doing dating profiles and helping people and connecting. It's so fun because it doesn't have to be terrible. It can be wonderful. Yes, it really can. Like, that's one myth I would love to dispel. I gave myself permission to date and have fun
And have
learn
fun.
about
Yeah.
myself and learn how to live outside of the like courtship world I lived in. And you did the same, right? Like you were raised
Yes.
really conservatively.
Hmm.
Maybe we need a whole talk on that.
I loved dating because I got to tell my story and introduce myself to a bunch of people, and some of them received it and loved it. Some of them were like, no, thank you. But it didn't matter because I got to, each time I introduced myself, I got to like fall more and more in love with myself again and reclaim my voice and reclaim who I was. And that was really important for me. So I loved it.
Yeah. I love that we both got to go through that dating process with each other. We support each other through heartbreak and infatuations and crushes and,
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that
and
part is
finding our
over
people.
now, but
So good. So good.
yeah, yeah. But I really did enjoy it. Yeah.
So let's tell a little bit in perimenopause and menopause. It's not too late. I have
Yes.
like 8 good friends in the last 2 years who have found their person, and it isn't all terrible.
It isn't all
It can be
terrible.
wonderful.
And even like the playful, lighthearted stuff that doesn't last can be really fun
Yeah.
and can teach you things you didn't know about yourself that you
Yeah.
be glad that you learned.
Exactly. And you might just get a whole new best friend out of it too.
Exactly. Best case scenario.